Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lime Rock Park up in the northeast. My name is Tom Drewer, and alongside me, Mike Anzaldi joins me once again in the commentary booth for Radical Cup North America. And Mike, welcome to a very hot, humid, and sunny Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, our photographer from Florida saying it feels a lot more like southern Florida this time of the summer than it does in northwestern Connecticut. But yeah, Radical Cup second time here in less than a year. Very excited. The bull ring at the Berkshires, as you have coined before, love this place. And we are going to be looking at a really fun qualifying session, and I suspect an equally exciting race.
Yeah, well, the big story, I think, of this weekend is going to be Pro 1500, isn't it? Of course, a slightly depleted field here for Radical Cup at Lime Rock Park. We're looking forward to a huge crescendo in the championship, which is the World Endurance Championship at COTA in just a month's time. And coming off the back of 2 weeks ago at Road Atlanta, and Radical Cup action was pretty fast and furious in wet conditions, predominantly at Road Atlanta. A couple of drivers bowing out for this one, but crucially, it's the top young guns in the championship in Pro 1500 that are duking it out. And none other than Jonas Axbo in the 32 machine will be looking to extend his championship lead. The points have gone in his favor. And Luke Kendall, well, what is it, Mike?
Well, it's 100 plus points off. He's 101 off. Luke Kendall is of Axbo. Axbo leading the championship, not just in Pro 1500, but overall with 554 points. Big weekend for Kendall, because if it doesn't get it right, if he doesn't win all these races and hope for some action from Axbo either this weekend or at COTA, it's over. Axbo has got the Pro 1500 championship well in his grasp at the moment.
And the green flag flies here. So qualifying is on at Lime Rock Park for the Radical Cup, the penultimate round of the championship. Of course, qualifying only setting the grid for race 1. Race 2, the grid will come from the fastest lap times in race 1, the grid for race 3 from the fastest lap times in race 2. And some stunning shots from the drone as the cars head out onto the circuit. Mike, you know your way around this circuit. A small track in terms of lap time and indeed distance, but an extremely difficult circuit to get right.
Yeah, I think so. It's very nuanced. The lap times are in the low 50s, so it's under a minute. About 51 seconds or so is about where the Radicals lap using the chicane just before the uphill. We had NASCAR trucks here just a few weeks ago. They used the entire track with the uphill. They were also running about 52s or so. So I say all that to just say this is a very tight, small a track. It's somewhat narrow, and it is very technical, Tom. So not huge lap times, but very technical corners at each one of the compass points of this track. So it's really kind of a cool place. 1, 2, 3. I love the first sector here at Lime Rock.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? As you head down into this section that Jonas Axbo is just navigating now, a chicane that is, as you mentioned, not used by the trucks, but slowing things up, woeing the Radicals, because last year, as we found out, without that chicane, the car's actually getting airborne for far too long, a beat too long, really, and the likes of Jonas Axbo finding their way through the air to the outside of the circuit. Now, this is an interesting moment down into turn 1 as well. Very, very high speed. Have to roll the speed through the corner. And it's easy to lose lap time, as you mentioned, around here. A tenth is a huge amount, and it's a momentum track. It almost feels like if you lose a mile an hour through a corner, it takes a couple of laps to gain it back.
Yeah, it really does. And I spoke with Rossi a little bit earlier. Now, of course, he is leading in the Platinum Championship in the SR10. His car is fastest in the second and third sector, but is Axpo, who is currently at the top of the timesheets in practice anyways. And it's that first sector that Rossi has trouble getting that SR10 hunkered down. The right-hander at 1 and 2, and then, of course, at 3. It's a toughie first.
So we're riding on board with Sam McDougall, and we were mentioning after practice, Sam's car looks extremely low grip. In fact, Sam was experiencing a fair bit of understeer. We'll see what Sam's vehicle is like, the Group A racing machine. You can see how much tiller he's starting to apply. Sam McDougall working hard at the wheel into this sole left-hander effectively. And look at that, understeer again from the car, and then has to negotiate this extremely difficult chicane. Can't get on the curbs too much. Sam does take a fair chunk of curb, though, but you can see those red bollards in the middle of the inside curbs of each of those chicanes, and you cannot afford to hit one of those in a Radical. It'll destroy the front splitter and possibly more. Big moment coming down through onto the front straightaway, gritting your teeth. I'm sure Sam is doing that underneath the visor, because it's extremely fast. You're relying on all the downforce generated by these SR3 machines.
And he just took a second out of his time at a 52.7 now. That is Sam McDougall. He currently sits P3 overall, qualifying, underway. Exciting time, exciting stuff. And that's the drone shot of exactly that person there. That is the number 8 car of Sam McDougall.
Yeah. And speaking of exciting... Chris Hoon, we caught up with him earlier today. He's our Gold Points Championship leader, and we really just wanted to have a chat to him about what he enjoys about this championship Radical Cup racing, and particularly coming to places like this at Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, well, first question, some of the tracks are new this year for me, and that's always exciting because you get to see, how to go fast in new places, but it's also nice to go back to tracks where you've had some time, like Road Atlanta, Road America, a lot of fun. This track wasn't my best race last year, but hoping to sort of redeem myself, keep it all in one piece. As for away from the track, just enjoying the local restaurants and the scenery around here. This is a really beautiful area up here, and it just has an old world feel to it, kind of awesome. And every part of the country we go to is a little bit different. It's kind of cool.
And speaking of all the excitement off the track, last night we were at the Boathouse, Mike Ansaldi, and having a couple of drinks there, catching up with various competitors, and everyone enjoying the Berkshires. Whilst back on track, Robert Rossi now sets the pace overall. Perhaps no surprise from the SR10, the fastest car in the field in terms of straight line speed. Of course, the Pro 1500s, as was shown last year, tend to be quicker through the corners. They're a more balanced race car, being slightly lighter in the rear end, working those hand-cooked tyres a little bit less. And right now, I'd say that Robert Rossi is quite impressive after having a moment in that final practice session.
Yeah, and while he may only be 5/10 or so off, it's a lot in the first sector. He's 5/10 off of Kendall and Axpo. He is the fastest car in the second and third sector. He was running with really warm tires earlier this morning, and he said that the tires are just getting so hot in that SR10.
Well, speaking of Jonas Axpo, he's just gone quickest now. So Axpo, who's been the star of the show in the practice sessions, earlier on it was the 21 machine of Jack Yang, who we'll get to in a moment. But right now it's Jonas Axpo, who has, he's laid down the gauntlet, if you will, with Luke Kendall with some work to do.
And we're going a drone shot there with Josh Holtz, the single crown driver out of Arizona, as he navigates through turn 3 here.
Josh Holtz, quite impressive at Road Atlanta, I think, as we ride on board. Josh, a sim racer, come real-world racer, and certainly learning the ropes of what it takes to drive a car in the real world. I think Josh had some pretty high hopes at Road Atlanta, and in the end was caught out unluckily by the weather. Not to diminish the driving capacity that he's shown this year, because it's been tremendous, and someone who's come on very, very strong behind the wheel of an SR3 this championship, but unlucky perhaps not to score a podium finish in the wet.
I agree with that. He really looked great at Road Atlanta, and he is picking up the pace. He is sharpening up his craft a bit, and it does take a few races under your belt to really get comfortable in these radicals. So I see big things ahead for Josh Holtz. In fact, let's mention Jack Yang, because he wasn't out for free practice 2. Valor got that car back together. He is back out on track qualifying at the moment.
Well, let's. We actually did catch up with him right after that incident, and Jack Yang can tell us all about it.
Pushed a little hard into turn 1, I guess a little too hard. It rained overnight, so the grass was very slippery. So by the time I realized I was carrying just a little bit too much speed into the corner, I was already touching the grass. And then I really tried to scrub the speed down a little bit, try to come back to the track. It was too slippery to do so. So we had I think a pretty big hit in the rear corner. Fortunately, seems like the chassis is all right. So we're just trying to replace all of the rear. Yeah, it's a very tight turnaround, but you see the boys are working hard to get the car ready. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to go out on track later today.
Yeah, so it was a bit hard to see from the onboard with that sun glaring away from the camera, but Jack Yang with a massive moment down into turn 1. So easy to do here. It's been the site of a few minor incidents, shall we say, during the weekend so far. Jack coming a cropper and finding the wall. Some big damage for the Valor Racing team out of England to repair. But, Mike, they've done a good job to get that car at least back together. Now it's up to Jack to reset things behind the wheel. And it's not always easy to do, is it? When you've had a moment like that, it can sometimes take just a little bit more composure than you'd like to block out the fact that the walls are close around a place like Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, Tom, and the efforts of the team are on your shoulders at this point. They worked really hard for the last few hours in very warm temperatures, almost near 90 here in Connecticut. And so the boys are really hot underneath that Valor tent. And again, hats off to them for getting that car back onto the racetrack. Jack Yang will qualify. And that's a big deal for him because in the overall scheme of things in the Pro 1500 Championship, he's kind of battling right now with Romer Venkatesh and, just Romer and Venkatesh for that P3 overall. And so those three guys, Romer, Yang, and Venkatesh, are going to either finish P3, 4, or 5, and all of those positions are currently up for grabs.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how this championship plays out at COTA in particular. Of course, right now, we're all focused on who can make the most of Lime Rock Park. And Jonas Axpo doing just that. We mentioned earlier, it seemed to be Valor Racing that had the pace early on yesterday. 4 hours of testing an open pit lane for the Radical Cup races. And it was certainly, it appeared that the British team had done the business, and then all of a sudden late in the day Jonas Axpo showed his wares around this circuit, and as Mike mentioned was fastest in the practice sessions. Also looked good this morning. So right now with Luke Kendall with some work to do. The other one we mentioned, Sam McDougall. Sam, it's fair to say Jonathan Scrillo, team owner, was quietly confident, had not bolted on too much new rubber onto the number 8 machine, and was hoping that with the fresh hand-cooked boots that Sam McDougall would be able to rock it up and contest a little bit more with the likes of Axpo and Kendall. And right now, Sam sits 4/10 behind Kendall in terms of outright pace. Axpo, another couple of tenths ahead.
I like that though. P3 overall for McDougall. This is a good showing.
It's a good start as well to the weekend. Of course, McDougall not running the typical car, still in the T car, the spare car from Group A Racing.
Oh, and there he is, stopped on track. Speak of the devil.
Yeah, that's not a good place to be stopped.
Awful place to be stopped. Let's stay on board.
So
okay. So it looks like he's off to the left at turn 5, heading up the uphill that we don't use. this weekend, and he will rejoin the track right here.
Right, so Sam having a bit of a moment heading into the chicane.
Yeah, and he just came out of the pit, so it's possible that an adjustment was made that he just was not ready for, whether it's brake bias or something else. I'm totally speculating at that point, but he did just exit pit lane. His car was just looked at by the Group A folks.
So just looking down into pit lane, perhaps a couple of teams electing to cool their drivers in at that moment in time as McDougall trundles down the front straightaway, certainly not at full pace.
No, so a throwaway lap for him. He's going to go around and start again. He would have come in the pit lane if there were a real problem. Venkatesh back out onto the racetrack. You're looking at Josh Holtz.
So Josh Holtz, with some work to do at the moment, sits down in 8th position on the timing charts and certainly has to find at least a second and a half to be competitive with the front runners. And Mike, being a momentum track, this is tough, isn't it? Because if you're looking at the raw lap times, you'll be absolutely demoralized. But realistically, this is a mile an hour or two at each of these critical corners. And if you can just carry that road speed through the corner, you'll carry that down the straightaway. And that's what Josh is trying to do at the moment, extract the most. Basically pick up the minimum speed that he carries through the apex of turn 2. Set up for this sole left-hander.
I like that line. Good line there.
Very much so. And looks a little bit smoother. You can still working at the tiller at the exit of the corner, picks up a bit of outside curb, so using plenty of racetrack.
Hard on the stoppers.
Yeah, heads down into this difficult chicane. A nice amount of curb, doesn't pick up those bollards on the inside. And then summons the courage through these final 2 corners. It looks relatively calm and collected, but I can tell you what, it doesn't feel that way. The camber through this final corner.
Yeah, and he's not doing it. He pulls off, and it looked like as he was coming down there that he was not using as much track on the outside. So Josh into the pit. Sam McDougall makes his way past start-finish standard and is trying to do another lap here with about 10 minutes to go in quali.
Yeah, so Chris Hoon, fastest in the gold class. Nico Balkazoon, quickest in Pro 1340. And young Nico Balkazoon just had his birthday on the Monday of Road Atlanta. Would you believe, just turned 14 years of age.
How's that even legal?
Well, probably not if he's tasting the champagne on the podium. And he's been doing a bit of that. Of course, he took his first win of his Radical Cup career, in fact, his car racing career at Road Atlanta in Radical Cup. That was fantastic to see. Outfoxed Mike D'Ambrose to a tremendous win. And Dad, of course, typically races in the championship as well. Omar cheering his son on. What a proud moment in the paddock for father and son racing together with the 13-year-old on the podium. What a way to celebrate your birthday. Mike, what were you doing at turning 14? Because it probably wasn't racing radicals.
I was probably putting new rims on my bicycle and hanging out with the boys out in the park.
Or pegging the cardboard onto the spokes of the bicycle, right?
New little horn or something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing big there. But Jack Yang. Let's talk about Yang. He's up to P3 overall.
Well, you mentioned rewarding team for the hard work, and it's paid off. So Rees and the boys down at Valor Racing have put in some hard yards. The spanners and the wrenches have been working overtime to get this car back together. It was a heavy hit on the left-hand rear corner. Luckily, the bodywork did its job. Didn't get stuck into the chassis, which was nice to see. All the wishbones folded up as they should and absorb that energy. But nevertheless, a stressful moment with 4 sessions today for Radical Cup Racing on Lime Rock Park.
And it's not as if Valor, that's their only car. They are taking care of Luke Kendall Luke Kendall sitting P2 in the championship there in Pro 1500. They got their hands full over in that garage. And so Jack's incident this morning, which took place basically right there that you're seeing, the track kind of falls away. Well, not the track, but the grass does fall away on the exit of turn one there. So it's tough to recover.
And plenty of runoff, but it is grass. So once you get on it, particularly this morning when it's wet, you're just a passenger and there's not much you can do about it. So we're riding on board again with Josh Holtz, trying to make amends for what has been a relatively scrappy qualifying session for Josh Holtz. Hasn't got in too many clean laps. Certainly hasn't put the pace together as he needs to do if he's going to mix it up with the likes of Jack Yang, Luke Kendall, Jonas Axpo. Sam McDougall, we mentioned, doing rather well. Pipped by Jack Yang, who's just rocketed up to fourth outright and third fastest in class behind teammate Luke Kendall.
Josh's competence, it's so tough to be 1.4 seconds off of the pace and just looking at yourself and in the car and the team and just wondering where you're going to find the time. This is a super technical track.
And I just wonder what he's done on the downforce level of the car. Is he just running more drag?
Yeah.
Some of these other drivers, a bit more experienced behind the wheel of a Radical, perhaps running lower wing angles, feeling more comfortable and confident with the rear end not glued to the racetrack. And we're just sort of trying to spy that rear wing angle. But Josh Holtz perhaps just running a little bit more drag, using all the track there.
And in his last tour by, he didn't improve in any of his sectors. And so it seems like he's kind of plateauing a bit there and is still kind of hanging out off the pace right behind.
So the red flag is out. The red flag is out. We can't see from on board where we've had an issue, but we've got a car to the inside of the circuit.
It's like Hoon.
And it's Hoon is going again. Now, is that where he did have a spin in the previous session?
Turn three. Or is that? Yeah. He heads down into the chicane.
Yeah, so Chris Hoon having a moment, the red flag being brought out with 5 minutes and
the clock stops here.
Yeah.
At least for the moment.
So Jack Yang into the pits, the red flag aptly flying across the screen.
And it sounds like this is going to be a very, very quick red flag indeed.
So Charlie Kimball, race director, of course, former IndyCar driver, very storied IndyCar driver, will have alerted the teams as soon as every car comes into their box on the pit lane, they will get the green flag signal. And so we're just waiting now for Chris Hoon to make his way down pit lane, and he might even take it back behind the wall. No, it looks like he is finding the Primal Motorsports crew, and now we'll get a quick countdown to the green flag, which flies now.
Green.
So immediately, drivers considering what they're going to do, and one driver who will be back out on track waiting the signal is the number 7 of Josh Holtz. So Josh Holtz will have 5 minutes and 30 seconds to try and put in a couple more flyers, see if he can charge his way up the leaderboard.
I imagine we're going to see some good action between Kendall, Yang, McDougall, maybe Venkatesh. I don't think Rossi's going to do anything. We're probably done with Hoon. I suspect we're done with Nico Balkasoon. He does not have Mike D'Ambrose on the track at the moment. And so there's just a handful of cars out there trying to jockey around and grab these pole spots.
Now, if you were Jonas Axpo, of course, the fear is that somehow you get pipped right at the last moment.
Yeah. Which then probably puts you to the second row, because right now Rossi is very, very close indeed, just a few hundredths off of the pole time. So I suspect Rossi's going to be on that front row.
He's a cool, calm, collected customer, is Jonas Axpo, taking a sip of water down into pit lane at the moment as his rivals circulate. We're watching Luke Kendall on screen.
Venkatesh calls it quits. He's not going to go out. And neither is McDougall. Interestingly, not really much action happening from McDougal.
Are they saving tyres, Mike?
Could be.
They've only got 2 sets of Hankook rubber for 3 races and this qualifying session. It's quite warm here this weekend. The loads are high on this circuit that is effectively a number of very, very high-speed right-handers.
I could see how McDougal and Venkatesh would not necessarily be interested in pushing this. Yang, I don't know. If I'm Valor, I don't know if I want Yang out there for too much longer, but he is certainly making amends for that incident that he had this morning, and he's out there circulating, if not for a lap time, for some practice. We got a race coming up this afternoon.
So, looking at the timing chart, it's Jonas Axpo who's been quickest in Sector 1. It's Robert Rossi who's fastest in Sector 2, Sector 3. Luke Kendall is not matching the times. 4 tenths down in Sector 1 is Luke Kendall off the pole man. A couple of tenths down in the middle sector. And another 5 tenths down in Sector 3. So Kendall not finding the rhythm at the moment.
And Tom, do you think that there's anything left in this racetrack as the temperatures continue to
climb? The track surface is getting, no doubt, a little greasier.
Lovely day, not much cloud cover, a little bit, partly cloudy, but ultimately
not quite as humid as yesterday. A little bit of, a significant amount of fog this morning, but it did lift, and it seemed to take the moisture out of the surface of the track anyway. But
Holtz into the pits now, so that is going to be it for Josh Holtz. I don't know that he will have any more time. There's 2 minutes to go. They could send him out after a really quick adjustment here, but it seems...
Kendall starts another flyer.
The car to watch now.
So the question is, can Luke Kendall in the 54 do anything? Jack Gang still circulating as well. So the 2 Valor Racing cars electing to gain more experience, more laps around this short racetrack.
Just watching Kendall get loose into turn 2 and coming up into turn 3. He's really hanging it out. He would love to have this pole position.
Yeah, Kendall has, effectively played bridesmaid a little bit throughout the championship. So it's a bit of a tough critique in a way, because he's been driving very, very well, had a very, very quick rival in Jonas Axpo. Axpo's year just didn't quite get off to the start that he wanted, but he's come back with a vengeance. And it seems with every weekend, the confidence is growing under the visor of the 32 machine. Luke Kendall only really in his, 3rd year of racing, went from the country club at Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Yeah, and he bailed out of it. Kendall did in the 3rd sector. He saw that they were not improving in the first 2 sectors, and so Kendall bails out. Yang is the car that you're seeing at the moment. Head through turns 2 and 3, and Yang is looking to pip Kendall if he possibly can, but he's 4 tenths off of him. I don't think it's happening on this lap.
Jack Yang driving in the Radical Cup Europe Series, along with Luke Kendall in select rounds, also drives in the Middle East as well. So Jack Gang, probably one of the most experienced drivers out there in the field, circulating in Radicals, and also looks to enter the paddock. So whilst the green flag still flies, everyone now back in the pit lane, and Jack Yang calls it quits for the session. So the checker flag flies on this one, and the session is over for Radical Cup qualifying at Lime Rock Park. Jonas Axpo, an impressive performance. The Pro 1500 driver pipping the 425 horsepower Radical SR10
500ths
by 500ths of a second. Yeah. So that's how you can do things differently. One with horsepower down the straightaway, one by carrying a tremendous amount of pace around these corners. And again, the class from Jonas Axpo shown. Luke Kendall relegated to the 2nd row of the grid. Crucially, though, will line up right behind his championship rival.
And he would be looking to freight train Rossi right away. Though I do not think we're going to get any trouble out of Rossi. I think that he's going to be playing very kind and not causing any trouble there. He'll move out of the way of Kendall and let those two battle.
Yeah, Jack Yang, what can he do from the second row of the grid? Sam McDowell, Valen Venkatesh. We'll keep an eye out for those guys as well. They, no doubt, will be gaining confidence and pace as we head into the race. A lot of data analysis to go before race 1 of 3 this weekend. And Mike Anzaldi, that wraps up things here for the moment from Lime Rock Park.
Tom, we'll see you in just a couple of hours for race number 1 of the weekend.